News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 111, and there is not a lot to talk about this week. I don't even know if we wanted to, if we could stretch this out to 2 hours. Like, there's just
I know.
nothing.
We're always like, oh man, there's not a whole lot. This will be a short episode, and then we fucking talk like 3 hours, like
Yeah.
last episode. But guys, there is literally nothing. I
Yeah,
say
so-
literally nothing, but there's just one topic as far as like movie and news, and then not really anything else.
Yeah, so the first bit is something that is unconfirmed. It does come from a source that has been right and has been wrong in the past, and this is the hashtag show. We've already kind of said that we're not going to cover Titans anymore because fuck it. Like, that show's just, yeah, I can't do it anymore. But if you do care about Titans and you are excited for the next season and you're a fan of Raven, it does seem like they are going to be focusing on Raven again in season 4, because the title of this article says Titans season 4 villain revealed, get ready for the Church of Blood. And so this will be Sebastian Blood, aka Brother Blood, and May Bennett, aka Mother Mayhem.
Yeah,
is who the
if
two people are.
anybody has ever read, I believe it's Teen Titans Volume 3, which is when Jeff Johns was in control of the Teen Titans. That was basically like the big first arc, I think.
Yeah.
If not the second.
Yeah, I think I've seen Brother Blood in a Batman issue as well, or a Batman arc, but I couldn't recall it. I don't remember it being that exciting.
He has been a character that has been very off and on. Brother Blood, the Church of Blood, has a lot of ties to, of course, Raven, her father, freaking shit. Oh fuck, what's her father's name? I was about to say,
Trigon?
yeah, Trigon. For some reason, I'm about to say Etrigan. Holy shit.
Yeah. But was it the Church of Blood in season 1? Like, was it confirmed that
I
was them?
don't think it was confirmed, but we kind of all assumed. And
Yeah.
like, I think that there was a lot of rumors that Brother Blood was going to appear. I don't
Yeah.
remember him appearing.
Because I remember that stupid, weird family from the first season. Remember? The one that said fuck all the time? Or the dad said fuck
Oh,
like, in the
yeah,
most
yeah,
random
yeah.
places?
Yeah.
And the kids were creepy. But yeah, I don't remember if we even found out what they were about.
No,
Or
no.
were they clones or some shit? I don't know, because didn't they die?
Shit.
Oh, no, the dad died and they replaced him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I even want to go back to season 1.
No, I'm not touching that show again. I'm done. I can't. Like, I have not touched Gotham since. When something burns me, I stay away from it for so long. And I know some people will give me shit because, like, I recently just dropped. I reacted to my biggest rant, like my worst video ever, which was the Gotham rant, and some people were unhappy with it. They're like, oh, "You're just like, you're agreeing with yourself." I'm like, "Well, no fucking shit," because I don't like. Nothing was wrong in that video. Like, people were just upset about it. And people get mad that I'm agreeing with myself. But it's like, if you can't, again, I've said this a million times, if you like the show, that's totally fine. But when there's something blatantly bad, like Scarecrow being in the Batcave in Titans and then automatically being on the street, and you don't think that's a problem, that's a problem. Like,
yeah, it is.
You're just not, and that was the thing with Gotham. I have said that I love season 1 through 3. 4 and 5 I thought were total shit, and that's it. So yeah, it's interesting, but I can't go back to those shows, man. Like, I wasted so much of my life on it, and I'm not gonna say wasted, but I put so much time into that show that I don't care anymore. And it's, I appreciate that everybody that watched it and did all that shit and stuck with me, but I just want to move on. I just want to. It's like, after a while, like, and I know Clay spent a lot of time with the Snyder Cut stuff, but he's moving on too.
Yeah.
Move on to the next stuff. And it's just what happens. But so yeah, Titans not burned with, but why haven't we heard anything about the new Gotham show, like the Gotham PD?
I think for one, I think that what they're attempting to do is like getting the hype around the movie first.
Yeah.
Solidifying, like, and of course you can say, oh, that's not true because they greenlit a second movie already. Well, like,
yeah.
I feel like we as an audience need to know what this world is before we start learning any more about the spin-off stuff, because
I agree with that.
they've already been like, oh yeah, Penguin spinoff. Oh yeah, 3 more spinoffs, and you're like, okay, well, it shows that they have confidence in this world, but
Yeah,
like, I think it would be a little too much information if we start getting a little like insight on other things if we haven't seen the main source of that information, you know?
yeah, yeah. I don't. I'd prefer a Catwoman over a Penguin
Yeah.
movie, to be honest. Or if anything, Penguin's the villain and Catwoman's a protagonist. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like she's
I
stealing from
think
him.
I think
Like,
it's only inevitable until we get the Catwoman movie, whether it
yeah,
be an HBO Max thing, whether it be like, hey, we're actually gonna go ahead and give her a theatrical like
yeah.
release or whatever. I think we're gonna get something.
But do you think she gets one, or do you think the whoever the next Catwoman's gonna be is gonna get one?
And the DCEU.
Yeah, Isa
Fuck.
Gonzalez still holding out hope. Um,
I don't know,
but
man. Uh I want to say Kravitz will. Like
yeah, yeah, I
I
think it'll be better.
I
But
think that she will have enough of a like leg to stand on after
mhm,
the Batman movie and just
yeah,
be like there's a reason why I am the like second lead in this movie, you know?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I'm excited for her to actually be a full blown supporting character, unlike the fucking I think botched Catwoman in the Dark Knight Rises. I don't think that was a great Catwoman. Although I love me some Anne Hathaway, but anyways, yeah, excited for that. But Titans don't care. So yeah, if you're excited for that, definitely check that out. I haven't been watching Teen Titans. Good. I mean, not Teen Titans. Young
Young
Justice.
Justice,
Good.
so far so good. I made the joke and it's really funny. The first 3 episodes and it looks like the 4th, because I don't know how long they will be on Mars, but the whole thing with this storyline right now is Connor and Magan are on Mars. They're getting ready to
Yeah.
get married, and
Oh, okay.
like the big thing is like the the polite thing is to talk with your thoughts, not with your mouth. And so it's really cool because in that way you're like, oh, so this whole world is connected by thoughts. You can't really hide from anybody. That means that like
Yeah.
everybody should be very connected and this should be kind of like a utopia, but you see a
Mhm.
lot of things wrong with it. They deal a lot
Mhm.
with racism in the first 3 episodes. It's actually really really interesting.
Oh, okay.
But I made the joke because they are talking in thoughts, and so they
Mhm.
didn't have to animate their mouths. So you
Yeah.
have 4 full episodes of maybe 3 or 4 scenes out of those 4 episodes
Yeah.
where people actually animated mouths.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Cool concept. I will say though, like I obviously it's a comic show and cartoon and all this jazz, but the whole like thought things they never go where it really should go. You know what I mean? Because like, what do they say? You have like 100,000 thoughts a day or some crazy shit, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And like you got guys and girls in the area. Come on, there's got to be some inappropriate thoughts around there. It's just gotta be. You know what I mean? Especially at their age. Like I know how I was when I was a fucking teen. So
Well,
like,
there's been so many like freaking time jumps in the Young
oh,
Justice
how old are they
storyline.
now?
Well, you have to like in our time, it's been 10 years since season 1.
Jesus. So
Yeah.
they're like in their 20s then.
They are like in mid 20s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Still, I still have these thoughts today. So that's my thing. Like, but I think it's just funny. It would be funny too. But yeah, I haven't seen it. I've heard it's cool. I haven't had time. I'm trying to catch up on My Hero right now because we're gonna go watch it tomorrow.
yep.
The one thing I will say, man, is for those I know everybody's like subbed over dubbed. I can't fucking do anything when I want to catch up on a show if it's subbed. If it's subbed, I have to put it in the back of the closet and be like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to watch you later when I actually have fucking time. That's
Yeah.
why I love when there's a good dub and there's a lot of episodes because I'm like, all right, I can put it on this screen right here. I can do some editing and still be paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But fucking subbed, I can't even look away. And I was like, fuck, oh, what? Oh, God damn it. 10 seconds back. So that's what like I have not been able to catch up on my hero because I'm just like ugh, I do like 2 episodes a night, but now I'm like I gotta watch like 6 more. So I'm like fuck. Um, so yeah, everything else is on the back burner. But yeah, so on from that, the only other news we have to talk about, and I do want to say, if your case like, oh man, I don't care. If you don't care about comics, stay on here because we are doing our first ever freaking viewer questions today. So we had some
Yes.
comments on YouTube. We said we were going to start doing that. We have some, so stick around for that. But we got some news for the Batgirl movie that it is confirmed that Firefly is going to be the main antagonist in this movie and is going to be played by Brendan Fraser. What do you think about this?
This came out of left field.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm down because if they go the kind of original origin of like this being uh a firefighter, like you can kind of see Fraser in or Fraser, I think
Yeah.
is the correct way you pronounce it. Um if you can kind of see him in that light of being a firefighter, and
Hmm.
then whatever the fuck happens, whether it be like it's so funny. I want to know if DC will go down this route of like the joking of Marvel the way they do it. Like every
Hmm.
villain in Marvel is basically like created by freaking Tony Stark. If you can make it to where Batman is the main reason why villains are even created, would be kind of fun.
Hmm.
But like maybe something happened, and because of something Batman did, you
Yeah.
know, we now have Firefly. Um, but I like the resurgence of Brendan Fraser.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I think out of he's the one actor in Hollywood that everybody deserved has been royally screwed.
oh yeah,
You
100%.
know?
Um, and he is loved on Doom Patrol,
Yeah.
so I think it is well overdue for sure. But just his performance in Doom Patrol definitely got his name out there for sure again. So
Ye- yeah. So I haven't seen like because if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, on Doom Patrol when they do show his face sometimes, is that really him or has he got like prosthetics and stuff on?
it is him. It is
It is him. So
he's
he's pudgy,
He's gotten
right?
a little bit bigger. Yes, he
Yeah.
has gotten a little bit bigger. There has been some episodes where I'll be completely honest, and people can hate me if they want to hate me. There has been some episodes where he looks great.
Uh-huh.
I think it does help.
He looked good in the first season.
Yeah, when in the first season when he was in the underground, he still kind of had the Robot Man like build as
Yeah.
far as like the jacket and everything, but then you just saw his head and it was Brendan Fraser. But then there's been some times where he does just have he doesn't have the bulky jacket to kind of hide anything. Recently, I
I
think as far as the flashbacks is where
yeah.
you kind of see him as an individual. But I
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
think like if they treat him right and if they kind of go on his pace, I think if he wants to have a transformation for this Firefly character, he can do it. I think he would be
Yeah.
able to do it.
I'm curious if he's like maybe he's against it because of what happened in the past.
Hmm.
Or like I don't know if there's any trauma there, but I'm surprised because like
Well,
Brendan Fraser used to look good back in the day.
apparently, he used to do a lot of his own stunts. So,
Oh,
like,
really?
apparently, that also had to do with like him, like I mean, there was if people don't know,
Yeah.
there was he was being sexually harassed by I believe directors and producers, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not having it," and so he basically left Hollywood because he wouldn't agree with those sexual advances from those directors and producers. They
Yeah.
basically blacklisted him, and so he couldn't really get a whole lot of jobs in the way that he used to, being the action adventure hero that he was with the Mummy franchise.
Yeah.
So that on top of doing his own stunts, he also got injured a lot. So taking a break from acting was probably good for him anyway. So like I don't know if he would be 100% into like going all in to be like, hey, I'm going to have this awesome transformation. I'll do my own stunts, like doing all this other stuff. But if
Yeah.
they take it one day at a time and just be like, hey, this is what we're asking for as the villain of Firefly. If you want to go beyond anything like that, we can make it so, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking at photos of him right now. That's why I asked. I was like, is if he has prosthetics or not? Because there are some things when he looks fine, and there are other things like his hair looks like it's really thinning in some photos, and other photos
Hmm.
it doesn't. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, huh. So I was just really confused because I think I saw just a photo where it looked like his neck was really, really bloated,
Yeah.
and I was just all like, is he
There
wearing prosthetics? Like,
there was recently, I think, and I'm pretty sure he wears like a hat in a lot of his interviews recently.
mm,
And I because of the reason of him like having that thinner hair.
yeah, yeah,
Um because I do think a lot of the stuff that he wears on Doom Patrol is a wig, for sure.
yeah.
Uh
That'd be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's probably true. That's why, yeah, I didn't know because he did look very different when I saw him, and it was a Doom Patrol like I don't know if it was a trailer or something like that, but I was just curious. Either way, I'm glad Brendan Fraser is back. He's a badass, and I want to see him in more stuff.
Well, he's
Um,
in that Martin Scorsese movie also with Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro.
is it
They're
already out?
No, 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 it's being made right now.
Oh,
But
okay.
he got a role in that movie too. So,
Yeah. So yeah, I would love to because I think if he were to be motivated again and put in the time to I guess get fit again, I think he can go back and do those damn mummy movies and shit again. Like bring them back. Why the
be
fuck
like,
not?
"Fuck you, Tom Cruise. I'm coming
Yeah.
back."
Yeah, and fuck Tom Cruise's mummy. Like they tried to do that whole dark one. No, bring in Brendan Fraser's fucking funny, crazy mummy. Like I think that would kill. You know what I mean? You bring that back, and then you have The Rock as some bullshit, and have them team up together. And it's a fucking billion
Brendan
dollar movie.
Fraser and The Rock, that would be
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Because wasn't he the Scorpion King? Like, wasn't it the same
Yeah,
franchise?
yeah,
Yeah. So had the Scorpion King come back with teaming up with Brendan Fraser for some ridiculous reason, and then bam, billion dollar movie right there. It's just it works. And that's like The Rock's like first movie, if I'm not mistaken. One of them for sure.
yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah.
Um, but anyways, on top of sticking with the whole Batgirl thing, there was also articles saying that they are casting a young Batgirl. We don't know if we mentioned this in the last podcast, but yeah, castings for a young Batgirl. So it looks like we're going to be getting some flashbacks, most likely.
Probably. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll have Robin in them.
I wonder if we will get her brother.
Yeah, that would have been actually if they do a second movie. I think her brother would be the best villain for that because her
Kind of,
brother's fucked up.
yeah, like lay some seeds in this movie, kind of like
Yeah,
show that he's not all right in the head, and then have him be kind of either the leading villain or like a secondary villain in the second
yeah.
movie. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be pretty badass. But we'll have to wait and see. I am kind of getting excited for Batgirl because it seems like with obviously Firefly stuff. I mean, depending on how you use Firefly, it could all be practical effects too.
Yeah,
You know, so I'll be excited to see what they're gonna do. And I wonder if they're going with the storyline of Brendan Fraser's like his character. I wonder if it's gonna be like obviously he's gonna be a firefighter, right? But if it's gonna be the like I had a girlfriend and she left me and now I'm going crazy and I'm gonna burn all her shit down and kill her, and then that's the story starting off,
hmm,
and then he just goes around burning more shit.
yeah,
Um, I'm curious if that's gonna be it, or if they're just gonna be like he's some crazy pyromaniac man and he doesn't care about anything. I'd rather have him some kind of like domestic abuse tied to his villainy of just arson as well. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, other than that, we gotta dive into these questions because that is literally all the freaking news we had this week. There was other things such as freaking Todd McFarlane is releasing some more like a 12-inch the Batman statue, which is red and black. It looks kind of cool in the packaging, but me and Clay kind of talked about this before that I prefer statues nowadays Not a big fan of the opposable arms, but I prefer these like fancy ass statues that are kind of ridiculously priced,
Yeah.
but the quality is there. Like the detail and everything's insane with them. McFarlane's doesn't seem like they're going to be doing that. Like they don't seem like they're putting that much detail into their figures, which
Yeah.
is unfortunate.
It is a little
So,
unfortunate. You were always gonna have your Studio FX, your
mhm,
Prime Studios, your freaking like you're gonna have all of those. Your Diamond Selects, you're always gonna have those. So, I mean, Diamond Select not exactly for Marvel and DC anymore now that they left Diamond, but
yeah,
I I know that you will always have those, but as far as like the affordable things, I will say I think the quality will improve with the black and white statues because they were all right, under
yeah,
the who was in control of them now. But I do think McFarlane does have a sense of like, hey, we're gonna make this, a little bit better in their eyes or whatever. I made the
yeah,
comment to you before we started recording that like, hey, McFarlane kind of seems like the kind of guy that's like, hey, if it's not my original IP, I'm not gonna go 100% into it, which I still
yeah,
believe is true, but they are a business. They do want to try to do what they can to improve on things. McFarlane said on Fandom that they are going to continue with the black and white series. So I am looking
yeah,
forward to see the difference between what they were before and seeing what McFarlane will do. But seeing this black and red statue from the Batman,
yeah.
it doesn't look great.
Yeah, but I also kind of, as I was looking at it, could you even do that in a high quality statue? That paint job? I don't think you could.
Not the paint job, but like
Hmm.
if you were to choose, hey, we're gonna take Reeves's Batman, Pattinson's Batman,
Yeah.
and make a statue of him, they
Hmm.
could do that, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah. And they have one coming out. They showed it at Fandom. They have like a really big one coming out,
Oh,
and
really?
it looked kind of weak. That's
Ooh.
why I was just like, nah, nah. Yeah, they showed photo. They were like, yeah, we're gonna have premium statues or some crap like that. And it's all black. It's like Pattinson's. Like I don't know which one. It looks like he's in an action pose or some shit. But they have one. It's not the black and red one. It's a different pose. But it
Oh, I
looked
see it. I
not
see it.
as detailed. And I was just like, yeah,
Oh, that's right. This is the one with like the weird freaking mouth.
yeah,
That's the big thing I remember when I was looking at this. I mean, it like because if you look at Pattinson, he has
hmm,
like these like almost sunken in cheekbones,
yeah.
and they put too much detail on that on the statue because I'm looking at it right now, and
Oh yeah,
it looks weird. It's like
looks like he's malnourished.
like any more sunken in, and you're the Joker, dude. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so that was another little bit of news, but other than that, yeah, slow ass week this week. Oh, actually, there is some kind of itty bitty gaming news, which is that WB is possibly
oh,
or
shut
is
the
working
fuck
on
up.
their own Super Smash Brothers with their own IPs,
Super
and
Smash Warner
Batman's in it.
Brothers. I
Yeah,
wonder if they would get in trouble if they did that.
I don't know. Sony has All Stars, I think.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon has Brawl or something like that.
I can't
Or
remember the name of the Nickelodeon one, but I've been
yeah,
seeing freaking videos on Twitter about it all
yeah.
freaking week.
Yeah, WB's has like Shaggy,
Yeah,
Gandalf,
I posted the
fucking
picture. I posted the picture in Discord.
yeah.
It looks like it has its own
The
original
Trinity.
character. It has the Trinity. It has Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. Rick from freaking
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, Shaggy. It has Steven Universe, Lord of
Yeah,
the Rings. So it like I'm sure we'll see Harry Potter in there as well. Freaking,
yeah,
we'll get like Lord Voldemort, or we'll get freaking Dumbledore or something like that. Um, it's weird, man. Like we kind of made fun of the fact, or we always make fun of the fact that like, oh, Fortnite like took over and now everybody wants to
yeah,
do a battle royale. Like, who would have thought that freaking fighting platformers would have been like, oh, this is the new thing?
yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, Smash has always been fun, right? But like everybody was always like, they always had characters they wanted to come to Smash, and Smash just never would get the IPs because
Yeah.
Nintendo is very meticulous about the shit they do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and that's really any Japanese type of uh, IP. Like,
Yeah.
you rarely see other like animes crossing over with other animes or something from the West. You know what I mean? So that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, why not? You know what I mean? Like they probably seen how much money that Fortnite was making with all the Batman and Catwoman stuff and all those other things. So like, why don't we just make our fucking own? Like Smash Brothers is huge, right? Like let's just do that.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon made one. So yeah, I'm interested to see if it'll be fun to play. But I
It's
feel like
rumored. So get this, because I got
Mhm.
this information this morning. It's rumored to be free to play.
Ooh, that would make it really popular
That
because Brawlhalla was free to play for a while. I don't think it's free anymore. I could be wrong.
I think it is.
It's still free.
I can be wrong,
Um,
but let me double check.
Yeah, so I think a game that is free, that is the new way to do things. I mean, Fortnite is still free and they make all their money off of skins and V-Bucks or whatever the fuck they're called. And I think that's the way to go. If you have a way to make a game free, that is definitely the best way to go because and especially if it has like a factor like with kids that kids will play it
Yeah.
and then you just start streaming that shit. Like I'll stream that game if it's free.
Yep.
Like what just came out? That
Brawlhalla
kickball
is
game is
still.
free now
Oh no!
after I paid
Yeah,
for it.
the knockout or whatever.
Yeah, I paid
That
for it like a few months back,
I
bastards.
I was waiting for it. I was just waiting for it. And it finally became free on
Yeah.
PlayStation next month. But Brawlhalla is free. So if
Okay.
they do this, that is gonna be pretty sick. Because
Yeah.
both I feel like both Brawlhalla and Smash are those games that are like, oh, who's gonna be next? Who's gonna be the
Yeah.
new DLC? I remember when freaking Hellboy came out, the new one, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, Brawlhalla gets Hellboy, and like Hellboy was freaking $20. I was like,
Yeah.
no,
They're
thank
they're
you.
super expensive, but it's I can't argue against that because I'm over here paying money on Genshin Impact to get waifus, right? And
See,
like I saw somebody go for it.
well, I was gonna say I bought Smash
Mhm.
just this past like this past month strictly for their final character.
Oh,
Sora
really?
is because Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite games on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I bought freaking a Switch and Smash just for that. And I was looking into it. If WB is smart in doing this, they will do the same route as freaking Smash in the sense of like, hey, you can buy a full pack for $25 and you will get
Yeah.
the next six characters. Or if you don't want all six characters, you'll have to wait for so many months and then you'll be able to buy that individual character for $5.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a very smart thing, and like I've also spent a lot of money on Apex because of the skins that come out, right? Like that's just a really cool thing, which is kind of dumb when it comes to Apex because you don't see your character unless you're getting picked up after being knocked down or when you win, right? Like that's the
yeah.
only thing that really matters. But yeah, I think that's the way you make money, man. You don't really need to have that $60 paywall at the start because if you make enough good incentives for people to want to keep
You can
playing and
make
they're like,
more
I want to
money
look
than
cool
just the.
in the long run, like
Yeah.
100%. I was on Reddit, like, because I follow these like different subreddits for like some Genshin stuff, and somebody was they did people are curious on why they don't do more skins in Genshin Impact because they know it would be like a money just farm. And they're like, those first two skins sucked because they give you like one free one and then you have to pay for the other one. And they were
Mhm.
like, those two sucked. And then I literally, the first comment I saw was like, yeah, those first two sucked. If they made them looter, I buy them and I pay more. And like, I was just like, okay. I was like, that's just a money farm, man. Just like fucking do that. But I don't know, man. It'd be very interesting because yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll have like Batman with base skin colors, right? And then they're like, oh, do you want Pattinson's skin? $3. Do
Yeah.
you want Ben Affleck skins? $5. It's like the way Rocket League puts in new cars.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way you go about it. And Rocket League's like permanently free now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
So,
it is. Yeah.
it's just a perfect way to do that. But yeah, any random thing to talk about there. But now moving on to the questions. And we have two this week, which the first one being from Bat B says, what do you think of Bruce Wayne's parents being corrupt like the Batman Telltale games? Do you think Bruce will discover his parents were corrupt in The Batman? It's been a popular theory with fans of the Batman, and I feel that the new trailer points towards it even more with the sins of
Pers-
my father. Oh, wait, I can't even say it. The sins of my father. I think he messed that up. In the shot of Bruce doing detective work. I've been listening to Batman News Weekly since Batman News Weekly #1. Love the podcast. Keep it up.
That's
So,
awesome, by the way.
yeah, we shout out
111 episodes this
that
guy
is
has been listening.
badass. Bat B, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I didn't catch this in the trailer.
So
So, is
yeah,
this a specific part?
it's the shot from above.
Uh
Everybody
huh.
assumes that this is Bruce in this
Hmm.
moment of like if you he there's like chalk on the ground and it has like the question mark in the middle and it's like has these things pointing to like pictures and then there's like a little
Mm,
fire or candlelit vigil or so whatever and it says
yeah.
sins of the father in one corner.
Hmm.
Um I said that this is a sentiment that has been overplayed a little bit in recent years, but
Yeah.
it's been overplayed in video games and in comics, not in anything the general audience would necessarily touch. So
Yeah.
this would be a new concept for them.
Yeah.
So if this is true, if they are going to go that route, I don't see it as too much of a problem. Because yes, I've seen it in the Telltale games. Yes, I've seen it in the comics recently. Like what was the latest thing that we saw it in? I feel like it was
Wasn't it?
in
Wasn't it like a one shot or an Elseworld story that was having to deal with Bruce? I forget, but like, yeah, we've seen it a lot. Like,
yeah,
it's a very done story, like multiple times.
yeah.
But like you said, it hasn't been done. The general audience wouldn't know about it. I don't have a problem with it. What do you think Riddler found out, or do you think Riddler has some kind of like did the Waynes fuck over his family somehow? Is that the route we're gonna play?
I think that it is the well, you know, just by the trailers that we've been seeing, we see that
Mm-hmm.
the Riddler is going after corrupt politicians, corrupt
Mm-hmm.
cops. Like he is going after the corruption in Gotham, and I think in some sick way he is going to be like, "Hey, Batman, we can work together, and we
Yeah.
can." And this messed up Batman is going to both agree and disagree with this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he will find out that his parents were not the greatest individuals for Gotham.
Yeah. Um, I will say the Telltale games were fantastic. Did you play those?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they were fantastic. The story was good. I will say I've always kind of had a problem with the Waynes being bad because, like, granted, to put on that hat of like, oh man, I read comics to get away from the world. To put on that hat for a little bit, I like to see like instances of it, right? Because what's the biggest thing? We've seen it from a comic book writer in Kelly Sue DeConnick saying that there are no good billionaires. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, I just want to be able to believe it. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't like the idea of like, let's tarnish the Waynes. Like, this is supposed to be two like good family members, and their son who is now fighting this crusade. I understand that. I guess there could be this thing of like it even weighs on Bruce even more, meaning he's like, all right, my parents were bad, so I have to be like 10 times better.
Yeah.
But for once, like there's always that old saying of, bad things happen to good people. And like that's just what happened to the Waynes. You know what I mean? And like I wouldn't be opposed to, even more stories about the Waynes and the kind of stuff they did. You know what I mean? I don't always want to be like, oh yeah, Thomas Wayne was such a bad person. Because when you start going down that route, then it gets into like, oh yeah, Thomas Wayne was a fucking Marilyn Monroe on the side, and starts getting into all that kind of shit. And he was like an adulterer and all this kind of jazz. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so like I don't know, and I understand that in the real world, yeah, there's more than likely no good billionaires, but if there is, you don't hear about them. Like that's the thing. And because there's multiple billionaires in the world, we only hear about three of them. You know what I mean? At least here in America,
Yeah,
we hear about fucking Bezos, Elon, and fucking Microsoft man. Oh, I guess we hear about Facebook or not Facebook anymore.
it's
Meta.
meta.
Yeah. So meta, bro. Meta. He is such an android. But yeah, so I don't have a problem with the story, Bat B. I think it'll be interesting, and yeah, I could definitely see that happening, especially with this new take, not new take, but Matt Reeves' take on the Batman. I could definitely see them kind of having some kind of thing with the Waynes. Personally, I just wish the Waynes were good people that died, because then it makes me care about their characters. If they were
Yeah,
bad, then I don't give a fuck about them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm just like, they're typical other bad people with money. Like, fuck it. But I would like to think that his father was a good man and his mother was a good woman, and that's
And
just the way
like
I
at
want
the
to see it.
same time, I understand what you could possibly go for at that point because I mean, don't get me wrong. The new trope is all white men with money are bad. Like
Yeah.
that we just said it. I
Mhm.
understand that is the trope, but like with that trope in a superhero world, you can be like, "Oh, your parents were bad, but you don't have to be bad." And so like
Yeah.
that means you have to work even harder to like save Gotham because you feel like the weight of your parents' corruption is on your shoulders and that's
Yeah.
why you're saving Gotham as well. Like you can go that route, which is fine,
Mhm.
but it is a little bit better. And, it goes along with the trope of like Batman is like just somebody who always has to have something in his life that is beating him down. But like, why can't our heroes have a good background? You know?
Yeah, I mean, we argue with the Batcat stuff all the time. Why can't they be married? Like, why does he have to be alone? Like, it makes no sense. It's like the reason why I hate that, it seems like, oh yeah, if you're married, everything's great in your life. Like, no, not at all. Like, what do you mean? And I just don't understand it. Like, it's just a stupid trope for Batman. It seems like everybody else and their mom can be married in the DC universe except for Batman. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. At this point, I trust in Matt Reeves. I'm just
Yeah,
waiting for the
for sure.
movie. So, you said there's a question. We have another question
Yes,
from
we
Raphael. I
have
don't see this though. So,
Raphael 2 days ago says, I love the podcast. I feel like the only thing I really liked about fandom was the Batman. The rest was good. I was not impressed. But I was not impressed. I did not see the Titans, and although I respect your recommendations a lot, I think I will see it mainly because I have a little crush with the actress who plays Starfire LMAO. Regarding the
ah,
question, it seems that very often you agree with each other. At least that is my impression. What is the book in which you didn't see eye to eye with each other? So we talked about this right before we started recording.
yeah,
Juice does not read much outside of Batman.
yeah. Have I
So
said why I do this? I think I talked about this previously, right? Or did I just talk about this to myself? So the reason why I only really read Batman, I think I talked about this on a live stream, is people are like, "Why don't you read Marvel?" And I'm like, "Because there's too much. Like, I want to be somebody that knows a lot, or
about
like I'm an
one
expert on
character.
one thing."
Yeah.
And so I picked Batman, and then when you read enough Batman, you start reading about Superman and Wonder Woman because they start tying in. And so I've read some Superman here, I've read some Wonder Woman, I've read all these other good stories. So I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'll focus on DC, but predominantly Batman, because growing up, this is why I suggest that some people need to learn the hard way or get called out on things, because I used to think I was a know-it-all growing up, and I got made to look stupid on the internet a few times, and I was like, I know what I'm talking about, and I talked about something and I got made to look really dumb, and I'm like, oh damn. And then so now I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I'm not perfect. I've said stupid shit on this podcast before, but for the most part, I try to be as educated as possible at that time.
Yeah.
And so with Batman, I just try to read as much as possible. I've read so much garbage, but I've also read some really good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So because of that, I unfortunately read a shit ton every single week. Um and there's some things that I love, there's some things that I hate. But majority of the time when it comes to reading Batman, I feel like me and Juice kind of have a similar taste. Now, one thing that we did agree on is I am not gung ho. What's the phrase? Slobbing
Slobbing on
on
the knob.
slobbing on the knob of Tom King all the time. Does he write great stories? Yes. Are they great all the time? No. And we talked about it when it came out. There was a lot of things near the end of Tom King's run on Batman that I wasn't really gung ho about. Some things that I didn't necessarily think were great for the character arcs, or even things that should have been done overall at the ending of that story. And Juice was like, "Nah, man, you're wrong. Like, this is why it's great." And I was just like,
Yeah.
"Okay, whatever." Um, so I think Tom King, and I've always said this, Tom King is the Ryan Johnson of comics, especially DC. And I do think that he writes in a certain way for certain individuals, or at least like the type of writing he does. And I think that, you're either gonna love him or you're gonna hate him. And thankfully, for the last few books that we have been reviewing here on Batman News Weekly with Tom King, they have been hits. I can't believe I completely missed a completely
Yeah.
disembodied Joker all over the Christmas tree on the last issue, but it was there. It's a thing that happened.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we'll continue with this real quick. But speaking of the Christmas stuff, we were questioning whether that Christmas issue was going to come out in December or not. I believe Andrew confirmed it's
Yes.
coming out in January. And after that podcast, we went to go look, or at least I looked on Mitch Gerard's. I don't know why I was on his Twitter for something. I think I was looking at Clay, then went to Mitch for some reason. And Mitch says that he's finishing that issue because I believe that current artist passed away. I don't know why or how, but I believe Mitch is finishing it, and that's why we're not getting it in December because the artist died. So
Holy
I could be
shit.
wrong, but that's what I
Who
want
was
to
the
say. That's what
original
Andrew
artist?
said. You'd have to look it up, but I think that's what Andrew said in the Discord. By the way, if you guys going back to this question, if you want to see me and Clay disagree, go join the Discord because like we do have conversations in there where we do not agree.
Yes.
Yeah, like when it came to Clay was making a good debate on why, and we talked about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago about the Superman stuff, like the being bi or whatever.
Yeah.
I say it's a cash grab. Clay was like, well, it doesn't really matter because of this. And like, it's solid points. And I think you could agree with either of us. But there are times we don't agree with that kind of stuff as well. I think, oh, yeah. I don't think it's necessarily comic books that we don't agree on, but me and Clay didn't agree on the Zack Snyder stuff for a really long time. So
Yeah,
if you want to see,
if you wanna hear that, you have to go back
yeah,
early freaking Batman News Weekly, and
yeah,
we got into some arguments for that too.
for sure.
It's not gonna
Uh,
happen, it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna
yeah.
happen.
Pipe dream. It's a pipe dream. So yeah, so there's definitely that. So we've disagreed on a lot. But for the most part, I think since we know each other, we're friends and we respect each other's opinions on books, we don't always go balls to the wall like you're fucking wrong, dude. Like no, blah blah. I don't think we go that hardcore like we would with somebody, some random person on the internet that doesn't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for the most part, even in those conversations, we try to be respectful, but some people like to try to win the argument right away with some outlandish takes. But yeah, for the most part, no, we haven't really disagreed on this stuff. I do want to point out their next paragraph because Raphael did write a lot here, but I kind of like what they said about Batcat. So they said, I'm really enjoying King's Batcat. I know it's a darker tone than King's main Batman run, but I feel like that it's achieving a similar effect. In the Batman run, King wanted to show how serious the relationship impacted Bruce's life, and I feel like he's doing this with Selina with the three timelines as well. It is true that there's not much romance, but I understand that Clay thinks that this is not much of a love story. But in my opinion, love stories should be able to show the hardest chapters that couples go through, and this is clearly one of them. So yeah, I thought that was actually pretty profound. Like that's a smart interpretation. Like, yeah, not everything's gonna be
Yeah.
great in this relationship.
In again, it's almost like, oh, I wanna read comics to kinda get away from the real world problems,
Yeah.
but that's not what Tom King does. Tom King is
Yeah.
a writer that's like, hey, we're gonna deal with some of the issues that we always deal with in everyday life and put them in these books to make these characters feel more real.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what he's doing with Batcat. I was kind of like, Jesus Christ, the whole like, oh, you get angry and then you fuck me, and then we
Yeah.
we play around and then you get angry again and then you fuck me, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like I understand that there's plenty of couples have their issues or whatever, but goddamn,
Yeah.
who would be Batman and Catwoman's therapist? That's my question.
Shit.
Because
Hugo
I
Strange.
because I don't think Thompson can handle them both.
Yeah, probably not. But then she would just complain to Alfred about it. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, no, I think that was pretty solid stuff, and I think that was a great insight to the
Oh,
Batcat book.
it was
What?
John Paul Leon. So the book that we ended up reading,
The creature?
Creature of the Night artist,
Oh shit!
he
Yeah.
was he was doing it. So it looks like he's going to finish it. So we're probably still going to get a lot of John Paul's
Yeah.
art, but
Oh
then
yeah, I
Mitch is
forgot
going to
about that.
be the ending of that book.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know that was a book that got delayed actually while he was doing, because I think that's when he got ill, right?
Yeah.
During that whole thing. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I didn't know he was the artist. So, yeah, that fucking sucks. I love that story though. That was a
Yeah.
great concept for that story. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but I'm glad Mitch is coming on and finishing that. Yeah, why couldn't they have done that with Batcat 6 through or 7 through 9? But it is what it is. But speaking of that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna dive into comic books now. Shout out to those of you that commented again. If you guys want to leave a comment, if you are podcast listeners, I appreciate that. You guys are amazing. But if you do want to leave a comment for us, you don't have to listen to the video, although you can listen to it on YouTube if you want. Just go drop your comments on the Batman News Weekly channel. Hit that subscribe button, help us out. But yeah, that's the best place to drop these because we can actually see your comments and your names and all that jazz right on YouTube. So if you want to be in the next episode, go drop a question for us. But yeah, so there is that. But now moving on to comics. So we got some good stuff here. I want to start off with the weakest book of the week, which is Task Force Z.
I hadn't read it yet when you told me what you did, and I was like, it
Uh-huh.
can't be that bad. And I started reading it, and I was like, I'm already bored.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. So Task Force Z is a continuation of the Red Hood story we've been getting in the back of some books. Was it
Detective.
Detective?
Yes.
So in the back of Detective, and now it has him with his new no guns Red Hood with crowbars and stuff like that, and his new suit, and he is using these zombie villains to do something. I don't know. I lost. I don't know what they're doing. Like, why are they doing this?
I'm not
Why are they fighting him?
entirely sure either. This is basically, I think it has something to do with the Suicide Squad, to be completely
Yeah.
honest. Um, Either they are in dismay or whatever have you at this time. Um, the government needs a new team, and
Let's get
who
zombies.
well, dead people don't exist,
Yeah.
at that point. So the only person that is alive is Red Hood. And one thing that I noticed with this book a whole lot was there was unfortunate pages where the artist kind of like took the same panel and just moved it 3 times in some of their like talking points and everything else. So it was a little bit of a disappointment to see that there wasn't a whole lot going for it when it came to
Yeah.
the art for me, because I mean comics are a visual medium. That's one of the things I love to look at when I read these things.
Mhm.
It didn't really capture me too much. I will ask you this: when the fuck did the Arkham Knight die?
Yeah, I don't know that either.
I don't remember at
I
all.
well, according to Future State, she's still alive. So that would be 6 years later. She should still be alive.
Yeah.
And Red Hood should also be Peacekeeper Red. or whatever. So yeah, I
I
mean,
I don't remember like her
I don't remember
dying
her
though.
dying. She never died because the last time we actually saw her in Detective and stuff, if I'm not mistaken, that if it wasn't Fear State, because I don't think she was anything like that, was Tomasi's Run.
Yeah.
So, which again, I don't think Arkham Knight has been good since Tomasi's Run. I think they've kind of just used her in a whatever kind of way. But I mean, I loved what Tomasi was building with her. For the most part, though, yeah, I don't know. Here's my problem with this book, besides just the writing or the concept of it, because I really don't care about it. I feel like it could have been something cool. My problem is it seems like they're trying to make this within continuity, and I don't like that. I wish this
Yes.
would have just been a story on its own that involves zombies.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure why they're going this route. Like, I feel like, unfortunately, what I feel like is, oh, Deceased was really good. That needs to
Yeah.
be continuity.
Yeah, no.
Why?
Yeah, it's
Like,
you can rarely pull that kind of stuff off. The Killing Joke was so good, it had to be continuity. You know what I mean?
but
Like,
also, don't get me wrong, because there are zombies in the DC universe.
yeah.
Solomon Grundy is
Mhm.
technically a zombie.
We'll talk
Like,
about him today.
yeah. But, like, why on earth would you decide to get some of the most popular Batman villains and be like, hey, they have died recently. Let's bring them back as zombies and have them be a part of this team. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense to me.
And the problem is you know they're not going to stay dead. So what? They're all going to get Lazarus Pit back to life?
I guess, but also, like, this is a cop out to the one thing that we have been saying we've been wanting for so long. We've been saying
Mhm.
Red Hood needs to be part of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And he has his own Suicide Squad, but it's with fucking zombies. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, like, that is way too supernatural for the Red Hood character.
He's also, you know, is it Azzarello that's doing the Red Hood book in Black Label? Like that one's not great either.
The Red
It's
Hood?
okay, but it's not the best. I don't know if it's Azzarello or not. Could be wrong.
Which Red Hood?
Remember, there is Red Hood kills the Joker or Task Force S kills the Joker.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the
That's not
Suicide
Azzarello
Squad.
though, is it? Is it?
I think it might be.
So even then, like again, because this is why we say DC listens to this podcast. Because I threw that idea out there so long ago, and then months later, that book shows up, and we're like,
Yeah,
"Hey, what the
yeah,
fuck?" But
exactly.
they're not what we talked about. Like, and I get what I get is this is why I say it because technically, if you guys don't know how copyright or intellectual kind of stuff works, is if you hear somebody and there's proof of like this is my idea, and then there's like proof that like let's say they took my idea verbatim and they did it and I'm like I said that on my podcast about Batman, you could have some kind of legal case if I'm not mistaken because it's like they stole an idea or some bullshit like that.
Hmm.
But if they take the idea of Red Hood being in Task Force S but don't use that story, then it's like nope, it's totally fine. But if
Yeah.
you steal an idea verbatim, then you have a legal case there if I'm not mistaken, at least here in America.
And then they'd be like,
So
Juice stole the word Batman and put it in his
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, that's like,
So
whoop, I'm telling you, future Bootman News Weekly, we got it here. But for the most part, yeah, like I think that's if they were listening to us, they went worse. They went so
they
worse.
I hate it when there is a popular idea
Yeah,
and the company's like, you know what? You're right. That is a really popular idea. Let's do it. And this is essentially what we keep saying. They fuck it up. It's like
yeah,
you were so close. You were
yeah.
so close from getting what everybody wants, and then you purposely just like fuck it up. And I don't know why.
Yeah, essentially DC right now is just like the WWE. Like the WWE has some amazing athletes and people that they can tell some amazing stories with and they fuck up everything.
Yeah.
Like people will literally tell you what they want on the internet. They're like, we want so and so to be the champion. We want so and so to do this. And then you set it up, and then right when they're going to do that, you don't give it to them. And they're like, we swerved you. I got you. And then you just piss off everybody. That's all
Yeah.
you do. That's not the way that you keep your audience. Like, you know
No.
what I mean? Every once in a while for the surprise, yes. But all the time, that's just bad.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I don't know. It's essentially me having Batman kill all the time in these fucking movies and all this shit. I'm like, bro, I'm over it. Like, can you just give me my original Batman that doesn't kill, okay? If you want him to kill, make this a fucking 1920s Batman where he's racist and he kills and he does all that shit.
Oof.
Like, go back to those times if you want that so bad. But my modern day Batman does not kill. It's part of his fucking character. Or make it Frank Miller's, you know? That one I'm okay with. You want to fucking do that? Fine. At least that's his storyline, whatever. But for the most part, keep it out of my shit. But yeah, Task Force Z, they end up fighting, like, they're fighting, I was going to say Sub-Zero. They're fighting Mr. Freeze. They're fighting Mr. Freeze.
Injustice?
Yeah. And this is kind of when I just stopped caring. Because, like, I think Mr. Bloom, who they don't even introduce here.
No.
He's just part of the team.
They don't reintroduce him at all. It's just like, hey, I'm here. It's like,
yeah,
we haven't seen him for almost 10 years.
Fuck, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, he's been gone for so long. And yeah, just gets introduced randomly. He's just in the back of this truck when they're gonna go try to do this thing. And then of course, typical Suicide Squad fashion, the whole plan goes to shit. And then it ends with Arkham Knight essentially probably gonna eat Red Hood.
Yeah, because like it's so weird when you read the book. You're like, okay, how are these characters now that they are zombies? You know, brain hungry zombies. How are they going to be a sufficient team for whatever task that needs to happen?
Yeah,
and it does like show Red Hood like feeding Man Bat like these certain little pills or whatever. And it's
Bane.
Is it Bane?
It's Bane because Man-Bat has that weird shoulder thing that injects him now.
Okay, yeah.
Shit, yeah.
So like you see that and you're like, okay, so they are able to kind of subdue them. They're kind of able to keep them at bay at some points, but you know that some shit's gonna fuck up. And this is like, for one, throwing it out there first issue, kind of eye rolling, to be completely honest. Like, oh, we all saw that coming, whatever. But I don't know how far this goes. What is this? A miniseries? Is it a maxi series? Is it an ongoing?
I have no idea.
We again, I I may have to tell him to listen. Just out of like we go back and forth, but this is Rosenberg, and I've said plenty of times that Rosenberg
is it Berg? Well, I've always thought Baum. Is that the Superman guy?
So Michael Rosenbaum is the Lex Luthor character on Smallville.
Okay.
This is Matthew Rosenberg, who is the comic book writer. Which I will tell you this, like this, it's really funny how my relationship with Rosenberg's like writing is this wasn't a hit, but I really dug his collaboration with Tynan in DC Vampires.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Like, I'll probably give Task Force Z maybe one other issue. Like, I barely read this one. I skimmed it. Like, I read a couple pages, and then I got to the point where there was actual action to see like how they are actually working as a team. I read a little bit of that, and then I skimmed it again. Like, I need there to be maybe our problem is that we didn't read the backups leading to this story.
Yeah, and I'm totally 100% will admit that maybe it was better, but at the same time, I usually try to skim those to see if they're interesting, and most of the time it was just that reporter lady, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. And it was also like Red Hood in that weird Ninja Turtle style. Didn't he have like the do-rag on?
Yeah, he had like it was the bandana that went over his head.
I was just like, okay. But yeah, for the most part, I just wasn't a fan of it. And it's also too, here's my thing. And I had this same problem when we're going to talk about Robin here in a little bit. Lazarus Pit is getting fucking overdone to fucking hell. And in this story, isn't it like they're using the Lazarus Pit, but they're changing up the serum, but it's only good enough to like keep the bodies from like deteriorating or some shit? Like, from my understanding, Lazarus fucking brings you back. Or
Yeah.
we read it in that one Future State book, makes you immortal like Tim Drake, who can die over and over and over now. Which
Well,
is
there is a little bit of precedent for that concept in
uh-huh.
Robin this week.
Yeah. But so should we just talk about Robin or should we go to vampires since we're talking about Rosenbaum? Or Bert.
Let's go. Let's go. I feel like because did you which one did you like more, Robin or
Vampires way more than Robin.
Okay, well let's go Robin first, and then we'll go kind of worst to best kind of thing.
Okay.
So Robin, I didn't see the exact twist coming from a mile away, but I felt something along the same lines coming a mile away.
You're talking about the woman reveal.
Yes. What is her name? Lady whatever.
It's Ra Zal Ghul. Ru Zal Ghul?
It is Ra'al Ghul.
Yeah. Well, it's R-U-H instead of Ras.
Yeah.
Raish.
So it's Ru'al?
Yeah, whatever. It's R-U-H Al Ghul. There you go.
Yeah. Ru'al Ghul, the soul of the demon.
Yeah.
And she is the mother of Raz Al Ghul.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Raish. Some people will kill you for
Raish. I thought it was going to be Raish's like ex-lover or something. Like that's what I
think
thought.
Mother's better. Yeah.
This is a little bit more interesting. Like I feel like Raish will come in and be like, "You can't keep doing this, mother," and then like you can kind of see that like the Raish and his mother relationship is the exact same from Damien and his mother, and so there will be a little bit more connection there. But I did see something along those lines coming from a mile away. It doesn't bother me too much. The one thing that does bother me is
the island.
So the way she explains it is the island was basically cursed by the Lazarus Pit that was in this island. Basically the island absorbed the pit, and now whoever dies on this island does not need the waters of the pit. Like they will always be resurrected as long as they are on the island.
Yeah.
Which is
it's dumb when you think about it, right?
Yeah. Like and it almost seemed like at the beginning, hey, you have 3 lives, and then if you lose your third, you're dead. Yeah. That isn't the case, because they just explained no matter how many times you die, you will always come back.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a ploy for the tournament to keep people in check. Here's my thing. And this is what annoys me about villains. If Ra Zal Ghul, or whatever her name is, was smart.
Al Ghul.
Yeah. If she was smart, she doesn't need to be a villain if she owns this island. You want to know how many people would fucking pay to go to an island where they can do whatever they want and die and come back? You know how profitable that island is going to be? Like, I'm going to ride every roller coaster. I'm bungee jumping without a fucking thing on. I'm doing everything on this island.
I would assume if you go skydiving without a parachute and you land on the island, you're coming back, right?
Yeah, I mean, this guy falls off a mountain and comes back. So that is so profitable right there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's a meme or it's a real story, but I always see this thing randomly on the internet of this like old mob family used to run a pizzeria as a front for their mob business, but the pizzeria got so popular that they stopped doing the mob stuff and they just did the pizzeria, and they were like legit after that. Like, this right here, man, you have a place where people can go die. Like you could literally have death battles on this thing, and then everybody comes back, and you're fine. Like
Yeah.
that is $1 billion industry right there. They don't need to be evil, and you can live forever on this island.
And so I this worries me. This
Mhm.
dialogue worries me for when he's writing Batman.
Yeah,
He goes and he returns back to the fight and like everybody's about to die, and I think Hawk ends up right before ends up like the final page being like him and Hawk about to fight. He fights Flatline, and
yeah,
we saw in past issues that they were having some sort of like kinship. They were learning a little bit more about behind the scenes of the island. Something was kind of going on. He's like, you were right, like let me win and I can defeat all this. And like the dialogue right here, let me actually pull it up. He says, listen, Mother Soul is doing this to hurt us, but I can stop her. And Flatline says, are you asking me to let you win? He says, no. She says, yes, I think you are. And then she says, how about this? You tell me what the deal is with Mother Soul, then I kill you, and then I stop Mother Soul and save the day. And then Damien says, and this is like, get the fuck out of here. He says, but I can win the whole tournament.
yeah.
I'm like, I understand. I understand this is a Robin book. I
Hmm.
understand the arrogance of Damien. But that line, like, you cannot keep putting Damien in this light because he's already grown so much
Yeah.
throughout his history in the DC comics so far.
Hmm.
Like, you keep showing me that he has not learned a single thing.
Yeah. And this is why I said, since they keep doing this with him, is why I would love that dynamic of his arrogance with when it comes to John being bi.
Yeah.
I would just love an issue of that, of them talking about this. You know what I mean? Of that whole topic. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's the same old Damien. But I told you my issues with this from issue 1 or issue 2 when we knew this was going to be an anime tournament arc, right? I already know Damien's going to win. So unless he loses, I'm just gonna be like, I saw this coming 12 issues ago, or however long this is, 6 issues ago. Like, I already know
Yeah.
the ending. But if Hawk beats him or Connor beats him, I'm be like, oh, okay. Because that's the one thing that happens in anime, right? Like, it got so typical that the hero was always gonna win the tournament. So now they usually try to do the tournament arcs really early on in the series so they can have the heroes lose and they grow from it. Like, that's
Yeah.
the new thing to do. I just don't see Robin losing this. But after reading this issue, because I thought the island thing was dumb, all that kind of jazz. But after reading this issue, are you still sticking with your theory of him bringing back Alfred? Because one, we saw Ghost Alfred
We saw
in
Ghost
this,
Alfred. Not,
but go for it.
well, I don't know if we talked about this or not, and I think we did. The last time that Damien and Flatline talked, she almost hinted at the fact that she may have seen Alfred
Huh.
when, yeah, if you go back and read it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment where like Alfred says something to Damien as like Ghost Alfred,
Yeah.
and whether it be ironically said or not, Flatline immediately after says something to Damien about ghosts.
Huh. I don't. Yeah, it sounds familiar, but yeah, I don't know. I only feel like. I mean, then again, she is like a death kind of character, right? So I was gonna say because what's his name? Um, oh, Deadman
Yeah.
does that kind of shit too. So it wouldn't. I'm not gonna harp on that. But the reason why I ask you this is, uh, Mother Soul or whatever the fuck her name is confirmed that she was like, the tournament's real. Like whoever wins, I will grant them immortality. So it's
Yeah.
not a wish. So it doesn't seem like he can. And then if he brings back Alfred, he's gonna be immortal.
Boom.
Like,
Like it you have an like an immortal butler for every Batman that comes into play.
Like, it's just kind of crazy. I've always thought the best like future thing for Alfred is him being an AI, like
Yeah.
Iron Man did with what's his face. I think that's the best one. Although we see that in the Nightmare timeline where he's
Yeah.
fucking kills everybody. But for the most part, yeah, I just when I read that I'll grant whoever wins immortality, I'm like, so it's not a wish then. So are they not going to go with the Alfred storyline, which I'm very curious about now?
I don't know. I want to say yes because I feel like unfortunately, regardless of how we feel about Tom King's writing,
Hmm.
I do feel like in this new Omniverse, they are bringing a lot of characters back. Like
Yeah.
the world already knows, or this universe of DC Comics already knows that Wonder Woman is alive. She came back, like because she
Hmm.
was on that like weird Omniverse adventure or whatever.
Yeah. Was that
Since
good? I never read it when she was old.
it was all right. Like
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, did you see that they're finally going to release
the
that Black
Kelly's,
Label Wonder Woman?
yeah, the Kelly
It
Sudaconic.
looked crazy.
Yeah, it looks
Like the art.
wild. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna be reading it. I'm not sure if I'll pick it up yet. I'll have to
Yeah.
read it
Kelly Sue
first.
DeConnick's either really good or really, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So,
So like it does feel like they're doing a lot of fan service stuff in this new omniverse of the DC universe with
yeah.
this infinite.
Not the fan service I want.
I
Animators
don't
need
think you'll get
that.
DC fan service.
Yeah, no.
I'm
I'm gonna have to,
sorry.
I need to become like a millionaire and just pay artists to give me what I want. All right. I want this whole issue with extra pages though. Like, god damn it.
Hey, I'm telling
Uh
you, if you want that, you'll just have to go to freaking, oh shoot, what is her name?
oh, what's her name? I know who you're talking about, Jen, right? Jen something?
Oh, Jen Barton. No, no, not her. I mean, she's getting a little bit more into the spicier content.
Yeah.
But there's one artist in
Babs?
particular that is doing, no, she does an image book that's called
Oh.
Pepper and something. I'll
By
send it
the
to you.
way, I know I haven't seen anything from what's his name in a long time. The one that was doing the spicy Harley Quinn stuff. I know he does his own creator own stuff now, right? I haven't seen
Which one?
anything from him in a long time. The guy that
Oh,
did Harley
Sajik.
Quinn. Yeah,
He left DC. He
yeah.
was like, "Hey, I'm going to be working on my own stuff." The person I'm thinking of is Mirka Andolfo. She was doing, what DC stuff did she do recently? Because I think she is almost strictly
Not
independent
safe for
stuff
work now.
now. She stepped away
Nice.
from DC also.
They make more
Um,
money and they can do what they want.
oh hell yeah. Um, Gosh, she hasn't worked on DC stuff in a long time. Jesus.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
she
That's why
she
I buy
has
manga now.
she has done like spicy content on the blank covers
Hmm.
before, and she's just been like,
Really?
she's like, "Hey, it's your money. If you want it, just tell me." So,
Yeah. No, I've seen some of Babs' spicy stuff.
oh
So I'm
yeah.
just like, oh. I'm like, okay, save
But
file. Um,
as I was saying, I just think that like because of the fan service that they are doing in this infinite, is it Frontier? Yeah, Infinite Frontier.
bro,
Or
I have not read a main DC book since Metal issue 1. I've been so burned. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't cared.
but like they are bringing back a whole bunch of characters, and if
Yeah.
you don't bring back Alfred, I do think it's kind of like, what are you doing?
But I think you only bring back Alfred in a really good way. And like I mentioned how they should have done it on the podcast, I think.
Oh yeah, no, we had the assumptions with that pick.
Yeah. Yeah. And they should have done that. Like I don't understand why they didn't.
Like I think we both said that we would have hated the fact that like that
They brought
freaking Thomas had to like would like basically Bruce would have to sacrifice Thomas in order
yeah.
to get Alfred back. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's a very compelling story.
For sure. But I believe I threw it out there that if you wanted to do a redemption for Thomas, he sacrifices
This is
himself to bring
himself.
back Bruce's real father, which is Alfred.
Yeah.
I think that's an even more compelling story because then you can get the forgiveness from Bruce of his father being the way he was,
True.
and then bring back that like DC Rosenbaumberg. If you're listening to us, give us come on, we got some ideas here. We can co-write. You do really great on collaborations. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, all jokes aside, Robin was okay. I mean, it wasn't amazing. I think they're kind of going a little out of left field, kind of craziness with the Lazarus Pit. The Lazarus Pit and what else have we? Oh, and Joker. Those are like two things I'm kind of tired of right now. I said this in the Discord today. I'm really mad about the Joker popularity because I went to so many stores trying to find green hairspray. Like, I could not find it. And I know it's all for Joker costumes. I know it. 100% it's for fucking Joker costumes.
You think
Luckily,
so?
yeah. Who else has green hair that's super popular right now?
Oh,
Like,
good point.
maybe some anime characters,
That's what I was
Deku or
going for.
something.
Yeah.
But Deku doesn't have lime green hair. You know what I mean? So he'd go more with the darker green, which you can buy darker green spray hair. But my
True.
thing is, I couldn't find any in anywhere. I went to the grocery store, I went to Walmart, I went to the CVS, I went to the Walgreens. Everything was gone. But I went to the tried and true Spirit store. They had like a whole fucking wall, and I was like, oh, thank you. I fucking bought it there. But anyways, yeah. So
Cosmo
Joker.
from Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh my god. It's the only person that pops up when you search it. Cosmo.
Oh,
But
shit.
yeah, no. So, anyways, yeah, Lazarus Pit, Joker, two things I could do without for a really long time, to be honest. I wish DC would do the vault, the DC vault, put a character away for a couple years. You're not
Yeah.
going to get this many, but unfortunately, like, we've mentioned this. As much as we can bitch and complain here, people buy Joker stories and they don't buy anything else, and that needs to change. You know what I mean? But I also think it's because you just keep fucking giving them Joker stories. That's
Yes.
what you need to change too. But anyways, let's move on to what did you like more, detective or vampires?
Oh, fuck. I
So
think I think I like Detective more.
okay, so you want to do vampires then?
Yeah.
We're gonna do Long Halloween last just because it's a bigger book. Um, but yeah, so vampires. I did you get swerved by this or no? By what happened at the end?
So I didn't. I didn't. And the reason why is like it felt like this was going on for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole explanation of everything.
Yeah.
I felt like it just kept going, and I'm like, something's not right here. So when it happened, I was like, ah, okay. So I didn't necessarily get swerved, but I wasn't surprised. Like it was
Mm.
just like a aha, like okay,
Yeah.
this is what's going on.
Got you. Got you.
But dude, when it did, so the big thing is, I haven't read this character before, but I know that in the New 52, Scott Snyder actually started off the book I Vampire,
Mm-hmm.
and the character's name is Jesus.
Mine's
What is his
loading right
name?
now, so.
The stupid dog won't shut up. I know that Hal says it several different times.
Yeah.
Uh, his
So
name
yeah, while
is
you're finding it, essentially the way the book starts off is there's this man who is cloaked in. He looks kind of like a cowboy, and he's trying to go to the Hall of Justice, and he's bandaged up, he's cloaked, he's everything, and we get a little hint. We see a little hint of Green Arrow, but we don't really hear about him right away. And then this man gets hit by a car and starts burning up in the sun. And he's all get back, and then we see Green Lantern come in to save the day and help this guy. And then he wakes up in the Hall of Justice in like one of their med bays, and he starts telling his story to the Green Lantern,
his name's
which is how it goes.
Andrew. I can't remember his
Okay.
last name, but Andrew is a vampire. Um, and he ends up telling Hal and Zan, who is a part of the Wonder Twins, this
Yeah.
story of the vampire queen and how she has been murdered, and she was the only one saving humanity from basically a vampire war.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's not true. We never knew we were in war. And he's like, yeah, because of the queen. Now
Mhm.
she's dead, and now shit's hitting the fan. So we need to
Yeah.
act quick. He was like following leads and everything led him to the Legion of Doom. He
Yeah.
goes in, and everybody just fucking slaughtered
Mhm.
everybody. And
How do you feel about that?
I I don't mind it because this is not a continuity book. Like,
That's what I would say. Because I feel like we have this discussion every once in a while, and some people always call bullshit no matter if it's a continuity book or not. When it's not continuity or whatever, like it's just an Elseworld story, is how I like to clarify it.
yeah,
I let anything go unless it's just written very badly.
exactly.
But the reason why I like it when I see another enemy come wipe out a whole nother clan of enemies is I'm like, okay, this is a serious enemy and they're going to be strong. And so I'm excited to see how the Justice League will deal with it.
Yes.
That's how what gets me excited,
Yeah.
opposed to a Miracle Molly or fucking Ghost Hunter that comes out and is just like super OP no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know,
So Andrew finds out that Lex Luthor survived, or at least he is like about to
badly
die.
injured.
Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
badly injured. And Lex is like, "Hey, you need to like this I'm on the fence about this in particular, but he's like, "Hey, you need to tell people you need to like basically save the world and this is how you do it." And he injects himself. He gets blood, he gives it to Andrew. And I'm like, "Okay, what the fuck is this about?"
Yeah.
And then he basically says, "Oh, by the way, before you leave, you need to kill me." And this was the part that I was like, would Lex Luthor really ask somebody to kill him? Like that, I feel like that is something a little too out of character because although these stories are Elseworld stories,
Hmm.
I do feel like there are characteristics that you do need to keep in order to kind of make it feel like, hey, this is still within the DC universe.
Well, to play devil's advocate or just an opponent of that argument, he does say that he wouldn't make it to the Hall of Justice.
Okay.
So he
Yeah.
knows his body.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
Didn't he
um,
also say something like, I wouldn't make it, and these individuals aren't even like going to kill me. They just like knock me around and they just let me like
yes. So as we continue to talk about it, we realize he somehow has special blood. Now
yeah.
we do know that Lex Luthor has tried to make himself or you would be the expert in this, but he's tried to make himself Superman before, right? Like
He's done a
essentially.
lot of things to his body in a lot of
Yeah.
different stories in order to become a god and or stronger than Superman.
Yeah.
I
So
do
I'm
think
assuming that's going to be some way involved.
I think more so what it is the fact that like he probably in this long scheme of story that this because I feel like this is going to be if you want to add it into the continuity of the DCEU, this would be its own Earth, right?
Has to be.
Has to be
We've
clearly
already seen people die. We've seen
exactly.
so many
So
people
it,
die.
it would be its own Earth that has a history, and so in this history, Andrew has said in this book, hey, all of these leads lead to the Legion of Doom. So why would
Yeah.
they lead to the Legion of Doom? Well, clearly something was going on between the Legion of Doom and the vampires. So
Yeah.
it seems like Lex Luthor was probably doing some planning himself
Mhm.
and made it to where his blood would be toxic to vampires.
Yeah, because he's the only one that's not dead, and they do show, and it doesn't. If you look at the photos of this book, or I would suggest everybody read this book because it is worth reading. Um, Everybody that's died, all the other Legion of Doom villains, they're sucked dry. Like they
Yeah.
look like they're skeletons with skin on it, so it looks like all their blood's been sucked out. But Lex is not, and you would believe that because we find out that when he's trying to escape, or Andrew's trying to escape, he stabs the Riddler in the eye with the syringe of blood, and Riddler bursts into ashes.
Yeah.
So we know that what probably happened is they tried to suck fucking Lex Luthor's blood maybe and exploded. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh shit, that's good shit." But like, they can't take it.
Yeah.
So they just beat the shit out of him instead. And he said he fended off a bunch of them and I think he's like it looks like he's missing an arm or he's like really fucked up.
Yeah, he's
Um
super fucked up. I'm not
yeah, he's
entirely
missing
sure.
an arm. So he only
Okay.
has one arm. So yeah, he already knew he was gonna die. I mean, obviously, Lex Luthor is the second smartest man, depending on who's writing him.
Yeah.
Is the second smartest man in the DC universe. So he probably knows he's gonna die. So he says, get the fuck out of here. But this is what I think was very Lex Luthor. He says, "Tell everybody that I'm gonna save the world, or I
Yeah.
found a cure, or something like
Yeah.
that." I was like,
Yeah,
"That's Lex
that's
Luthor."
Lex Luthor, which I did
Yeah,
enjoy that. But
yeah,
immediately after this, one of the big things in the beginning of the story is how Jordan was like, "Hey, Andrew, you good?" And Andrew was like, "We need to talk to the league." And he's like, "Okay, well, they're off planet. They'll be here in like a day or two. So just rest up, you'll be good, and then we're going to be good to go." And after this whole story about Lex, Zan, the other twin from the Wonder Twins, is like, "Oh, you need to talk to the league? Well, let me go get them real quick." And Andrew's like, "What the fuck? They're here? What are you talking about?" And
yeah,
that's when the twist happens.
yeah.
Fucking Hal Jordan is a vampire. Which
Yeah, it was. I was like super confused for a little bit because I was reading. This was like the fourth or fifth book I was reading out of this week,
uh-huh.
and I was just like, "Huh?" I was like, "Wait, the League's all vampires?" And then I was like, "Oh," because
He's
I thought Zan was also a bad guy, and he was gonna get the League to be like, "Oh, I'll ask him." And then I was just like, "Wait, what?" And then I was
no.
like, I reread it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm dumb."
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Zan is not a vampire because of
Yeah.
what Hal does to him is fucking insane. He
Yeah.
puts him in a construct blender,
Yeah.
blends him up, and then starts to drink his blood from the dispenser of the blender. And I'm like, that's fucking metal. Like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
I'm very curious on why they didn't make this a Black Label book. But I wonder if it's better because it's not. Because I feel like some writers, when they're like, all right, I got Black Label, it means I could say fuck and like shit and
I
like,
feel like it
you
would
know?
be a little too much.
Yeah.
And you have to remember
Although a
this,
one-page spread of a blender ripping a guy apart would be pretty awesome.
it's fucking insane. But Deceased isn't even a Black Label book.
That's true. But I mean, did Deceits really have any like fucked up shit in it though? It was just always hinted at, right?
It's hinted at. Like, I
Yeah.
think Tom Taylor plays along with the idea of like, oh, the ideas in your head are always going to be worse, so we're going to pan away, kind of thing. Like they like get to the moments of like, hey, this could possibly be the worst thing, and they either show a
Yeah.
silhouette or they show the reaction of other people watching said thing happen.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I think what you think in your brain is always going to be worse. But there are some times when you think something and then you turn the page and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
No, like
okay,
this, the fact that he fucking blended him, like,
yeah,
that's great. I would have not even thought about that. And for the fact that they did it here, I was like, oh shit, that is
yeah,
awesome. So I really did enjoy that. Now, I really love this like old school golden age reach of Green Lantern. So the really cool thing about Green Lantern back in the day is, of course, his powers are based off of green light.
yeah,
Now, back in the day, he could, and he explains it here, he could kind of tap into the spectrum of light. And
hmm,
this goes back into the golden age of comics because the spectrum of light now is into the other cores of the lanterns: red,
yeah,
blue, violet, black, all of that. So they didn't have those other colors to really play with the stuff that he's able to do here. And he says, because even Andrew was like, I saw you in the sunlight. Like, how are you able to survive? He's like, oh,
yeah,
well, I use my lantern or my ring to basically deflect all UV lights on me. So I can survive
nice,
in daylight.
Yeah.
And I can also manipulate UV because I power light within my ring. And he fucking kills Andrew
Yeah.
right on the spot.
After he asks him, "Who have you told?" Because that was the big
Yeah.
thing. He was trying to get information out of him. He was like, "I told nobody." He's like, "Oh, thanks for letting me know and being truthful." And then he burns him up. And that's when we get the page turn to, well, it Aquaman shows up and asks, "Have you seen Green Arrow?" Which we know the cover of this book is Batman and Green Arrow fighting together. So
And
I'm assuming they're going to be the main
well, the
two
big
people.
thing is when you were seeing the story that Andrew was talking about, you see a hooded arrow individual because it's
Yeah.
red, because it's like all red and bloody, quote unquote. You don't know if this is Red Hood, you don't know if this is Green Arrow, like
Yeah.
or Red Arrow, not Red Hood. Sorry. You don't know if this is Red Arrow or Green Arrow. I
Mhm.
assume that it was a Green Arrow just because like he was on the cover, but
Well, there's
maybe
that on page 1, there's a panel of Green Arrow.
really?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned right when we started covering this,
Okay,
when
hold
you were
on.
looking for the name. There's a it's Green Arrow on page 1.
Oh, it
It's like he's
is.
following him.
I didn't even catch that, to be honest.
2nd week in a row, Clay doesn't catch something.
So but there is a Arrow person in the flashback as well. So if that is true, then he was following him for a while,
Yeah,
which I think Green Arrow or Oliver probably was like
hunting vampires.
probably hunting vampires because we saw at the Legion of Doom that there was like a map and there was names on the wall and it
Yeah,
looked like there was a big grand scheme of like a plan to fight the vampires of some sort or like
yeah,
because I think Andrew was like I don't know if these were allies or if these were targets or whatever.
mhm.
I do think that Green Arrow does know and he is going to be able to team up with Batman sooner than he's able to like team up with anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
I always like the Batman Green Arrow team up because they never agree with each other, but they're the same.
yeah,
Like, I always like that dynamic. I mean, there's been plenty of history where they just don't like each other. I mean, look what happened in Identity Crisis, right? Like,
yeah,
they were opposed to each other. So yeah. Anyways, we do get a page turn of Batman arriving at the Batcave. Alfred is there. Tells him, Alfred, you don't have to wait for me in the cave. Like, I feel bad when you do this. And he's like, oh, I got an urgent message from somebody. And this is when he reads the note from Andrew saying that he's in danger, he's being followed. Basically, what he says in the story.
yeah.
And there's this like just bottom of the panel. Alfred's all like, and it also wanted me to tell you that Lex Luthor might have just saved the world, and he's holding the
The
vial
vial
of
of
blood
blood. Yeah.
with the most juice box facial expression on Alfred ever. And I'm just like, yeah. So this was interesting. I will say, since this is issue 1, we can make our predictions right now. If there's a swerve at the end of this book and Bruce is a fucking vampire, this book can go fuck itself. That's my prediction right
I
now.
don't think he is a vampire.
Because that's the biggest fucking trope about Batman. Oh,
Yeah,
of course he's a
yeah,
vampire.
yeah. Because he's
I
a
would
bat,
hate it.
like Batman, bat,
Yeah,
vampire. Like
but
it.
but he doesn't go out during the day and he does this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
feel like they could fucking say that and I will be so mad.
I think that there could possibly be like a moment where I bet you anything, Oliver is going to come up with a plan. Hey Bruce, why don't you just pretend to be a vampire and
Uh,
uh and go
yeah,
undercover with these guys? Like I feel like Oliver would say something stupid like that.
yeah,
S-
probably.
So
But I mean, if he goes undercover, I'm totally cool with that. But like, I feel like a vampire would just be like, all right, suck the blood out of this thing. You know what I mean?
true.
Like, Bruce is down, he's gonna fucking do it. But like, I'm just saying, like, how do you if you have to do it from a human, it's just kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. First issue, solid as fuck.
Yeah.
Like this, if I was still buying a shitload of comics like I used to, I would be like, put the rest of the issues on my sub box.
My question is, where the fuck is this writing in Task Force Z and in Batman? because this is
See,
Tynan.
but it's also what's his face, right?
Yes.
So is it like they're great as one person? Like, how does this work? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Yeah, I just don't get it because this is a solid fucking issue. Like, solid read. Like I said, I would continue to buy this. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. How does that work?
Because here are the facts. Tynan is doing great things with his creator owned stuff.
Yeah,
A lot of it is dealing with horror. So
yeah,
this is kind of in the same realm of that. Technically, his Batman stuff right now with Scarecrow should be dealing a lot with horror stuff. And it's
yeah,
not that great.
yeah. Again, it seems like he was going for a money grab there, and it didn't work. But yeah, I don't know. And I think that's me. I feel like, unfortunately, right, when it comes to comic books, a writer, if he's going to make like royalties or whatever, they have to make that character amazing, right? Because you can't just make an amazing looking Batman character. Like, you could, as a writer, describe how awesome Batman should look, and then Dan Mora comes in and makes it come to life. But forever on after that, it's going to be like Dan Mora's Batman because he
Yeah.
drew it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So as a writer, you have to be like, oh, Molly, Miss, you know what? I already forgot her name. Molly Miracle, or what the fuck's her name?
Miracle Molly.
Miracle Molly, dyslexia. Miracle Molly, or fucking Ghost
Juice
Hunter
has
Man, and all this other
dyslexia,
shit.
guys. Leave him
It's
alone.
true. It's that's not a joke either. It's 100% true. I do. But like, you know what I mean? So I think that's maybe where it doesn't help that, you know, he is a disciple of Snyder, and Snyder just hit it out of the park with fucking Metal, right? So, you know, probably like try to do as much as you can before you get out of Subbox, because then people will be writing your characters while you're at Subbox. By the way, did you read the article that Ed Brubaker turned down Subbox?
Yeah.
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 He said, and he also doesn't believe in it.
The
That was the
reason
most interesting thing.
the reason why is he so it's really weird because he is an individual that has been like taking advantage of, like, hey, I have a following, let's create a book and
Yeah.
do great things with it. He does a lot of stuff with Kickstarter. So he did that.
Hmm.
Substack is exactly that, but it's an ongoing subscription. So he's not telling people, hey, pay me $7 for the rest of however long that you want
Yeah.
to continue to, give me money, and I'll write you a letter every once in a while, and then you'll have the opportunity to buy my comic when it comes out.
Yeah.
No, he is like, hey, my book is ready. I need this much money. I know you guys love my content, so I'm only going to ask for this much money one time. Here you go.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a it's a big argument, but I do think that he has proven that you don't necessarily need something like Substack to stay afloat, but only if you have the community to go along with it.
Yeah, quote is from this article. It's an interesting phenomenon. People definitely made it sound like it's going to shake things up more than I think it's going to. Which we kind of said the same thing.
Yeah, I'm still interested. I'm still interested to see what happens with it because, of
Yeah.
course, it's a comic book medium. It's something that I enjoy. Um, so I'm gonna follow it still. Like, even if it, like, oh, by the way, Substack dies in 2022. Like,
Yeah. You want to know the one thing I will say it has done is it's had me notice the name Substack, because since they were a newsletter company before this, I've noticed some of the things I follow are brought to me by Substack.
yeah,
That's the only thing it's done. I'm not gonna read any of Tynan shit. I'm not gonna read any of Snyder shit. Like, one, because I'm not gonna pay for it. You know what I mean? Because
hmm,
they burnt me on DC, and I know they could write good creator own stuff, but you burn me on the biggest property that I already enjoy. Why should I go buy your stuff when you burn me here? You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's how I see it. And just for anybody that's gonna be writers out there in the future, you should put your all into everything you do. Even if you have something on the horizon, you should focus on the job you have at hand and not think about the future. Because if you lose everything in the present, you're not going to have anything in the future. So, anyways, let's move on to Detective, which I just noticed we're already an hour 40 minutes into this.
Yeah.
Why do we always say? Why do I start off the podcast saying this is a small show? Why do we do it? I don't fucking know why we do it every fucking time. Anyways, what did you think about Detective?
I I continue to say, for all those who said that Dan Mora couldn't draw Batman, y'all can go fuck yourselves.
How is this
Mm.
whole podcast host, guys? Because didn't he say it?
Yeah,
Didn't
he
Mark
did.
say that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I even said it on Twitter today, and Mark was like, "Yeah, I know."
Is he still building his house?
I think he's finished. I think he's
Mm,
finished. I have actually need to connect with him again. It's been
yeah.
like a month or two since
I'm
we've talked.
curious if he still has the podcast bug or if he's kind of like, oh man, you know what? I'm better without it.
Well, the big thing with him is that he wasn't finding anything DC or Marvel very interesting. So
Oh,
he was like trying to find more of like the indie stuff to kind of
yeah.
get him to, come back to comics. There was one story, I can't remember the title off the top of my head. It's an indie book that like
Hmm.
brought him like a new wave of life for a good
Oh,
while. So
nice.
we'll see what happens. But this book actually very, very short read. But I did like the ending of this book.
Yeah.
It got like super intense really, really quickly. And Dan Mora,
Controversial? You think? I think we can have a debate about the ending.
ooh,
I feel like this
maybe.
is something people can debate
Oh,
or want to
probably.
debate.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would
Anyways.
like to hear what your thoughts are on it. But
Yeah.
this whole story is, of course, last time we were reading Detective, Batman and Mayor Nakano were stuck like 20 feet below ground. They're separated. They're trying to find each other. They eventually do. They're like basically separated by just one wall. And it seems that they now know, okay, Vile is back in some capacity, and Batman needs to save Nakano quickly because he is starting to get eaten alive by all of these bugs.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing I will say that I don't know why this happened in this book. I think it does have to deal with like fear state stuff, just to be
Hmm.
like, hey, there's more characters in Gotham.
Yeah.
Um, I I love the way Mora draws Batwoman and
Yeah. She looks
Kate,
amazing.
but I don't understand why she came into the mayor's office without a fucking mask.
Yeah, I think it was to do the civilian thing. Like, like pretend I'm a civilian. But yeah, she instantly throws her mask on and then
Yeah.
starts fighting them. Um, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Because they know what she looks like now.
Yeah. I think the way you could still do that is there is precedent that Batman owns technology that changes his face. I feel like she should have came in with that.
Yeah.
There's two different types of this in comic books for those of you that don't know. If you I think it's Snyder that did it
Yes.
when you can change the face.
In the very
It's like
beginning of New 52.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a device that can make your face change or it's like it makes you look like somebody different. And in Tom King and Tom Seeley, right?
Tim Seeley.
Seeley, Tim Seeley.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Seeley. Yeah, TTs. The TTs. They did the Spiral Agency,
Yeah.
where if you saw a Spiral agent in the field, their face was spiraled and you couldn't make it out.
Yeah.
They looked fine when you're reading in the comic books, but they would show different like perceptions of this. And I've always been curious as to why Batman has never incorporated something like that. I had to burp. Why he's never incorporated something like that. Like just have your face spiraled all the time so nobody ever sees you. But
I
does
don't
he
know.
need that intimidation factor? I would assume.
I think he does need, because that's the whole point of the bat costume
Yeah.
is
I
to
would be, I think, more scared of a spiraled face. what is going on? Oh my god! Like what the fuck? You know what I mean?
But
Like,
then, like, the suit and, like, cape wouldn't make sense
yeah, I
if you're
get
just,
that.
like, like, it
I'm just
matches the
curious.
persona, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
I just feel like anytime he needs to be a civilian, you would just use something like that. But then again, that does throw up a bunch of red flags. So I'm answering my own questions here.
yeah.
So, but anyways, I think it's
But
a good way to escape.
that's basically the issue, to be completely honest. There is one really cool panel. It's a double page spread where like you are reminded of the history of Nakano and Batman.
Yeah.
Um, Mariko Tamaki's very first detective issue, where she started this whole entire story, is the fact that he lost his eye, to the fact that there were some mistakes made by the police, not necessarily by
Yeah.
Batman, but made by the police, and Batman was present, and so they immediately like blamed Batman for everything. And there is a flashback like in the background of
Hmm.
his partner completely being blown up in flames,
Yeah.
and they're like, Are you like, you need me to trust you? Did you forgot how we even met?" Like,
Yeah.
it's a very intense like page, and I really really dug it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty intense, but I like Batman essentially is like, I know Batman essentially says, I know you don't trust me, but if you want to fucking live, you better come with me. Like,
Yeah.
essentially is what he says. And but then that's when Nakano basically gets COVID into his skin and it starts burrowing into him.
Fuck,
Yeah,
dude.
it looked nasty, man. I was
It
just like,
and like
oh
for a split second, I legit thought that he like was able to sever his hand with this rock, but
yeah,
he is like smashing, because this bug goes into his skin, and
yeah,
he has this
burrows.
rock, and he is just like stabbing himself trying to get this bug, and then they all start to hatch. They all get over him, and then this is pretty intense. Batman's like, okay, humans are able to get shocked by this much voltage and
Hmm.
live. I'm about to shock him with so much more.
Yeah,
Hopefully he lives. He shocks him.
yeah,
It's a very intense page, and then he runs down. He is like trying to like like reciprocate him. He's trying to freaking jumpstart his heart, and it ends. Like, we don't know if he lived or died.
yeah. Although the next title is called Wakey Wakey, so this is
It could
the
mean
great
that
debate.
Vile wakes up, because his
That's true.
body is still over there with Penguin and oh wait, no, no, no. His body is not with Penguin in them, because that's in the coroner's office. They were cutting it
Yeah,
up and everything.
yeah.
Ooh,
But
I
I
don't know.
mean, the virus was always the main villain, to be
Yeah,
honest. I think Viola was just a host.
yeah.
So this could be the new host. But the great debate is with what Batman did, if Nakano dies, is that on Batman? Or is it he tried to save him and by trying to do that he died in the process so it doesn't count?
Oh man, this
See?
this
This
is
is the
a
thing, and, like, I automatically have to think about this because I know Batman fans are gonna be like, "Oh, what about that one time in Detective Comics when he tried to save Namco, but he died? Like, he killed him." I'm like, "Oh my god." Like,
yeah,
he was
yeah.
trying because legally, if I'm not mistaken, legally in America, if you try to save somebody's life, like, because 'cause they're in danger or something like that, and they die in the process, isn't that, like, a citizen's something? Like, if you try to revive them
So
or some shit like that?
so there is murder, and then there is manslaughter, and then there's uh
No, there's
I
one for like citizen, like you tried to save somebody, but they die in the process. That's not your fault, I think. But
I
it's not like you ran them over and then tried to save them. That's not your fault. It's like if there was an accident or some shit. I forget how it is, but there
I
is
mean,
something
it's
out there.
there is something called involuntary manslaughter,
Uh huh.
which is manslaughter is is basically the unintention of
Yeah.
killing somebody. Uh, Involuntary manslaughter is defined as an unintentional killing that results either from recklessness or criminal negligence, or from the commission of a low level criminal act such as a misdemeanor. Okay,
Yeah,
so this isn't
you can
it.
still go to jail for that. I
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say is I think if like say you were dying, right? And I see that you're dying and I rush over there and I'm trying to help you and like maybe I start giving you CPR or something like that and all that jazz and you die, I wouldn't get in trouble for like helping you or trying to touch you or anything like that. Like I was trying to save your life, you just didn't survive. Like you know what I mean? So, I think this is a broader sense of that to where Batman knows Namco was going to die. So he took, some liberties, pulled this shit out, and rushed over there and did something that he thought would save him,
Yeah.
but he could possibly die. Now, granted, I think if they did a coroner report, they would say he died from electric shock,
Yeah.
which Batman implemented.
Exactly.
So I'm just like, damn, you know? It's because the great like the another part like with Superman, right? Like if Superman is fighting, let's just say fucking Doomsday, and Doomsday fucking grabs him and they tackle each other through a building and the building falls over and we assume it's not empty and a lot of people die in there, you don't put that on Superman's shoulders, right? Like it's not Superman's fault because fucking, you know, Doomsday crashed into him or whatever and they went through a building. You don't put
Yeah.
that on Superman. Um, Although some people would say that. And I'm just like, it depends on how you look at it. But
Yeah.
Batman was trying to save him, but he did something that could kill him in the
Yeah.
process.
I
So,
I would have to say that it is killing him. That Batman.
yeah, I would say it is very debatable
Yes.
because I don't know, man. Like, it depends on how
Because
I feel like
then you have the argument. Oh, he was gonna die anyway.
exactly right. But it's the thing of we do this with our, I mean, fucking Tom King literally covered this in his Batcat run. The military, a soldier can kill another soldier and it's not murder because if you're killing a terrorist, they plan on killing other people, so you're stopping them before they take other lives.
Yeah.
So, if is this considered an attempt at saving? You know what I mean? Very interesting. So, we kind of I don't know. I feel like I could be on either side.
But like
I could
also
see
like
the light.
how exactly do you explain that though? Like even to other Justice Leaguers, like oh he was getting attacked by an alien parasite,
Oh,
so
if
my only option was to shoot him with this much electricity. Like
if I'm explaining this to other people, if I'm Batman and I'm explaining this, I'm gonna be like, Wonder Woman, sit the fuck down. You don't have a say in this. All right. I've seen you chop somebody's head off. And Superman, I've seen you kill people in galactic space. All right. Don't even fucking bring this over here. Like, I would go around that. And then, of course, if Hal shows them, be like, you're essentially a space cop. So just sit the fuck down. We're not getting into this. You know what I mean? Like, Flash would be like, you're cool, you're fine, stay there. But yeah, like I wouldn't get into that. I think when it comes down to it, it always in superhero form, you try to do the best thing possible.
yes.
I think that's what it comes down to, and where people would argue that Batman tried. Because just like the Joker said, if you see somebody drowning and you don't help them, are you explicit in their death?
Hmm.
We literally just read that book. And you would think about it. I think if I'm Batman in this situation, and I know Namco has a way better chance of dying if I don't do anything, my conscience is a lot clearer if I try to save him. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because if you just hear him dying on the other side of the rocks, sounds like that sucks, bro. You good over there? Sounds like that's pretty bad. I could save you, but it might kill you at the process, you know? Like I think if I were Batman, obviously, I think you're already mentally prepared to try to save them, but you're also know that you're taking a risk. I mean, every time. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a very great topic to talk about. So, if you are on the YouTube section and you want to leave a comment, let us know in that comment section. Do you think Batman killed him? Not killed him? What are your thoughts? Also, feel free to leave a different question as well. But moving on from Detective, which was a solid issue, let's talk about Long Halloween. This is Jeff Loeb, whether you love him or not, even though he's been very controversial lately. This is a continuation to the amazing Long Halloween run that he did.
Yes,
Have you read those stories?
I have not.
Oh, damn. Damn. So I
Which
feel like
I will
it would
say
have hit
this.
harder.
Well, surprise number two. I did not have enough time to read the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we want to
So,
lobby this into next week, because I am looking at next week right now,
uh-huh.
it doesn't look like we have too much as I remember.
Would you be able to read the Long Halloween?
Uh
Because it's like a lot. Like there's a lot of stuff that you realize why Two Face is the way he is, why his wife is so important, like
well,
a
you know
lot.
what? Let me find DC Universe Infinite
Yeah.
and
Because
then
I think you'd be able to get the gist of it with Long Halloween. There is the Dark Victory and Haunted Night, but I think if you read the Long Halloween, you would get the gist of this. Um, although it's essentially a series of three, and then there's a Catwoman spin-off book as well. But I think if you just read Long Halloween, you would be able to
all right,
understand
Long
everything.
Halloween is 13 issues and
I
then
hate that
this
they
one.
don't
So
have a thing.
14. So I would need to read 2 issues a day and
Yeah.
then to reach next week's recording. I could do
Yeah,
that.
because the reason why is it fills in a lot. Like if you know the context behind everything, it makes the story, I think, even that more interesting. Because right now you're gonna ask a lot of questions, I feel like.
Yeah, I could do it. Let's do it.
So, all right, so we're gonna push Long Halloween to next week, ladies and gentlemen, so Clay can get the full experience. And then yeah, we'll cover that next week. But for the most part, we still gave you a 2 hour show, which is pretty crazy. But Clay, what do you got going on this week, man? Besides a lot more reading now.
So if you guys follow me on social media, you do know that I just recently reviewed Star Wars Ronin, which was the uh, novelization and continuation of the very first episode of Star Wars Visions, which was The Duel, the black and white episode of Star Wars Visions. There was a continuation of it. I read it within a week and reviewed it with my co-host Katie. So go check that out over at the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, or you can just search Star Wars Alliance. We do have our own feed that you could listen to. um Me and 3 other individuals from the Geek Ultimate Alliance also reviewed the Titans finale over at DC Alliance. Go check them out, or us out, because I am one of the main hosts on there. So we went into a little bit more detail than we did here, because I know that we just shat on everything, and we basically did it here as well. But we also talked about, like, what does this mean for the future of Titans, and how exactly did they try to land the ending compared to the other seasons and
Mhm.
whatnot. So we go into a little bit more detail. But other than that, that is basically it.
It was. Could you even say that they tried to land here?
I
I feel like
said
they tried not to die.
no, because somebody said, um, do you? I think it was Brent who said, if you fall down a flight of stairs and then just so happen to be on your feet at the end, is it really landing on your feet? I said, no, it's kind of like falling down a flight of stairs and landing on your face, is what it really was. Because
Yeah,
they hit every single step on the way down.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm done with that show. But if you guys want to check out what I've been doing, go check out my 2 YouTube channels. I feel like I'm getting really back into content. If you are a fan of the Dark Pictures anthology games, which is Until Dawn, Man of Maiden, Little Hope, they just released a new one called House of Ashes. I am currently uploading multiple episodes of that game. So if you want to see my playthrough, my decisions, all that jazz, go check out my gaming channel. Obviously, if you're also a fan of Apex, I've been
Oh,
uploading
are
stuff
we
for
going to
that.
see the return of Deathloop? now that you have
Oh
the
yeah,
big
my
boy come
PlayStation's
back?
alive. So they factory wiped my PlayStation.
Oh,
So
no.
anything I had is gone, and I don't know if Deathloop was on the cloud or not. I could
Ouch.
definitely start it again, but I'm in this weird space right now because we just covered this on my live streams. By the way, some of you that do listen to the podcast have come to the live streams. I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Go subscribe to the gaming channel too, and turn on notifications to all. Everybody's like, I don't get notifications. You have to turn it on to all, guys, or you're not going to get notifications for every single video or live stream. But um, I was mentioning this that I want to stack up a bunch of video game content so when people go to the channel, it actually looks like I have a lot of like solid gameplay. Like, oh, he played this full game, then he played this full game, and he did that. So I definitely want to do Deathloop. But in the last live stream, we because I love doing feedback with people. Same thing for this podcast. If you guys have feedback for us, we would love to hear it. I love doing feedback with my audience, and I went back and was looking at all my views. All my videos that have actually done the best in the last few months since I started making content again have been the naughty videos. So like, I'm just like, do I need to double down on the not safe for work stuff? And because I'm not getting like magnificent views, it's like 100 or over 100 on those videos,
Yeah.
but they are the best performing. And I think it's because it's not oversaturated. Like House of Ashes, everybody and their mom's playing that. Like fucking Jacksepticeye and all these other people are playing it. You know what I mean? So I'm getting buried in the long run. But those other games, a lot of people won't touch them because they're afraid to get demonetized. So I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe I play a lot more of that on like I mix and match. So we'll see. I'm kind of still kind of doing all that. Also, the reaction channel, I feel like I've been putting a lot of different and unique content over there. I talked about why PewDiePie is wrong about pizza in my last video. Go check that out. It's a stupid, weird video. And I loved it. But yeah, anyways, go check those out. I haven't really been posting on TikTok just because I've been focusing on the YouTube channels. But yeah, that's it for me. And that is it for this week's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.
News Weekly.